Hello, and welcome to the Nerds Now Playing podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things nerdy, including movies, video games, entertainment, and more. This is recorded at the Feely Creative Studio in Salina, Kansas. I am your host, Devin, and with me is...
Yahoo! It's me, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Devin. How are you today on this Friday?
I'm doing very good. I'm very happy to be here.
Me as well. I can't help but notice on our table there's a bunch of Mario stuff. Why could that be?
Well, today we are going to be reviewing the Super Mario Brothers movie that just came out.
Oh, we're not doing the 1993 one? Bummer.
No, not this time. But maybe if you deem it necessary, maybe we can jump through that.
So if I deem it necessary, then I can force you to watch it again?
Maybe it's been maybe 20 years, but yeah, I have Mario figurines on the table here. We're talking about the new movie, and I am a huge Mario fan, and these are things I have at my desk at work to keep me a little bit entertained.
I was gonna say you're pretty much a big like Nintendo in general fan.
Yeah, I've been a pretty big Nintendo fan ever since the original NES came out, and the Super Nintendo had those consoles growing up. Also, and then I just kind of stuck with Nintendo ever since for the most part. Had the Nintendo 64, GameCube, the Wii, Wii U, and currently the Switch, and including also the Game Boy games, the Game Boys, Game Boy. I didn't have a Game Boy Pocket until a friend gave it to me, but I have Game Boy Pocket.
Is it like the micro one?
It's like a slimmer version of the original Game Boy.
Oh.
That was marketed for, it was called Game Boy Pocket, so it could slide easier into your pocket, because the original Game Boy was kind of a hefty boy.
Oh yeah, it was a brick, total brick.
And so a friend of mine had the Game Boy Pocket, but he gave it to me after a while for some reason. But then I do have the Game Boy Color, and I have the Game Boy Advance.
So do you have like every Nintendo console?
I have them. Well, I don't, because I am missing.
I mean, not talking about like not including like the variations, but like
I do not have a Virtual Boy.
Oh, you didn't want to go for that? Come on now.
Well, that console when that came out, I don't think I knew about it very much when it actually came out, because it wasn't a success
gotcha.
Sales wise, but I don't remember seeing much fanfare for it, or in a way that would drive my interest in maybe wanting it. So
gotcha.
That kind of went under the radar when it came out, I remember.
Now, were you did you subscribe to the Nintendo Power magazine as it was coming out?
Yeah, I did actually, and I still have all the magazines that I had gotten. I don't remember from what span of time I got them, but at least 5 years worth of those Nintendo Power magazines, and I still have them in bins in my basement.
Dang.
But
then you picked up that like last year you got a vintage like cube storage thing, right? Like a chest or whatever it was?
Yeah, I found somebody on Buy Sell Trade on Facebook was on the marketplace was selling a vintage like toy chest. It's really kind of cool. I've seen there's better condition ones I've seen online that can go as high as like $300, $500. It's pretty crazy. It's so the one I have, it has some art on all sides of the box. It's pretty cool, but it does look like it's but not been taken care of very well. But it's still pretty cool. So I probably bought it for. I saw the listing on the buy sell trade for it, and I remember going there, and I think they were selling it for like $30. And when I got there, the person selling it was trying to haggle up. It's like,
oh, interesting.
Like, well, actually, could you do 40? And I was like, no, thank you.
That's not how haggling works.
Like, no, thank you. I brought $30 because that's what we agreed upon. But anyway, I do have that, and I have all those Nintendo Power magazines, and I loved subscribing to that growing up, because that's when, at the time, that's when you got to learn about the new video games for the most part.
Right. And they had like various cheats and stuff too, or like methods, right? Yeah,
they would have like little mini guides in them for whatever game was kind of coming out. I remember when Majora's Mask on the N64 came out, they had like a. I think it was spread out over like 2 months worth of magazines, but they had like little player's guides for 2 of the dungeons in that game.
Oh, cool!
Which I thought was really fun. So I got to look forward to that, and then get some of the little hints on where stuff was in that. But I always liked Nintendo Power because it had upcoming games. They had what they recommended, and they did little reviews in the magazine.
Oh, cool. And didn't I saw a video recently they were talking about didn't it also have like some Mario comics in there too?
Well, I don't remember Mario comics. It's possible that there might
Huh.
have
Or maybe
been.
just like little panels or something.
Could have been. I don't remember seeing that, but I would have to look into that. The but it is pretty fun. I don't know why. I mean, I know why I kept them. It'd be hard. It'd be sad to just get rid of them, but I'm keeping them all. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. Like I don't think I knew about the magazine until. I mean, I probably was maybe high school or college, but by that time it was done. It was no longer being imprinted. Because my first Nintendo console was the SNES, the Super Nintendo, and like that was the only console we had for a long time. So I probably maybe saw Nintendo Power at like the grocery store or something, but I don't know. I guess I never like clicked with me to get them or to try and subscribe. So so I kind of wish I would have. Maybe I would have been even more interested in some of those games, but like I mean I'm not sad about it. So out of curiosity, since our topic today is Mario, how many and I believe I saw online that there's over 200 games. So that includes like the ports and remasters and everything else. Because I think I saw, like maybe there's like 70 actual games total or something like that. Of those, like how many have you played?
Yeah, gosh, man. I mean, I'd really a lot. There's a lot of number.
Not a specific one, no.
Well, I played all the mainline Mario games for sure, and I know, the Mario Brothers, the arcade Mario Brothers, and I played the Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3 on the NES, and Super Mario World, Super Mario 64,
Yeah,
Super Mario Kart, and I have played Mario Golf 64, Mario Tennis.
I never got into the sports game. Like I'm if you can't tell, I'm not a particularly like athletic person, unless it involves throwing.
I would have never guessed.
Did my pale complexion and introverted nature give it away?
Yes.
Oh,
and only that.
Yeah, sports games have never really done it for me. I've never been particularly interested, even the ones that have more of a theme like Mario. For myself, like I actually made a list of all the ones, and I think I've played around 30 of the titles, and that includes like Smash Bros and Mario Kart and all those. But I've played Super Mario Bros 1, 2, and 3, and the Lost Levels on Super Mario All Stars, and that was the version before it included Super Mario World, because I had that as a separate cartridge. So Super Mario World 1 and 2, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. I'm pretty sure I played Wario Land, even though I think Mario is technically in it somewhere, but it's technically a Mario Land title. 64 I played. I'm pretty sure I've played both Galaxy 1 and 2, the new Super Mario Bros. For the Wii, and Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, so you played the Game Boy games on that.
Yeah. I put that on my list.
Let's see. There's Mario Bros. There you go. Super Mario Land. Then there was Super Mario Land 2, 6 gold coins, and then
Wario Land, I guess, is labeled as the third one.
Yeah, so I think in Wario Land, Mario was kind of the antagonist in that
what I remember.
in that version. I don't remember the story if he stole Wario's gold or not or something.
I don't remember.
Like that.
I was looking up clips of it the other day, or it just there's a picture of Wario sitting on like a little planetoid, and I do vaguely remember that. So I must have played it, but I didn't remember. Like the one that I played more than anything else was the 6 golden coins. I've played that numerous times, and now that it's on the Switch, so with the new update that they did a few months ago.
So when it comes to the Mario games, there's the 2D ones, and then there's the 3D platforming ones. What are your thoughts on those?
I think maybe it's just like purely nostalgic for me, but I like the 2D ones, like the 2D side scrolling ones are my favorite. If I had to pick like a top 3 Mario games. It's Super Mario World is my number 1, and it always will be. That game it was really my first Mario game to begin with, but that game has held up incredibly well. The graphics are they still look good.
Yeah.
In today's age, I mean, it's 16-bit and it looks fantastic. I like the gameplay. I think it's pretty much perfect. The music is great. Also, the first appearance of Yoshi So
Mm.
there's that aspect. I think next would probably be Yoshi's Island. Because like I had both of those and I played them a lot growing up. I played them multiple times. And then 3 would probably be, oh man, probably Super Mario Bros. 3. Because I mean that game is just fantastic. I mean, you have the Tanuki suit, you had the frog suit, and all those different ones. That game was just brilliant. That'd probably be my top 3.
Yeah, picking the favorite Mario games is really hard, I think, because I do like the 2D side-scrolling platforming ones, and I also like a lot of the 3D
The 3D
3D
ones
ones
are
too.
harder for me because most of those feel like collectathons, and that's just not really. There's something about having to collect things to progress forward that just annoys me.
You know what? If I were to pick my favorites, gosh, it's still really hard. I would probably say my number one is Super Mario
I
64.
had a feeling that would be yours.
That game was just a really magical game to play after playing so many 2D games. That was the first
Did it blow your mind?
it did. When I first got Super Mario 64, I had gotten it for my birthday, and my when we first got it set up and I was playing it, my mom was wondering why wasn't I playing a level, because I was just running around the main castle, because the controls and the feel of moving a character in 3D space like that was
Yeah.
just you've never done it before, and it felt so crazy. It looked so mind blowing with the 3D graphics and all that, and my mom's like, "Well, are you going to actually just play a level or not?" And but it was because just running around the front of the castle was just so much fun, just to make him jump and run around. So I love the physics of that game and just moving around.
Yeah.
Now going back and playing it, maybe it's not as refined as maybe I remember it, or I mean, it's a little tricky game. The camera's a little bit can
The
be a
camera's
little
probably
bit,
the worst enemy in that game, to be honest.
but the nostalgia of that game, and it's so bright and vivid with this
Yeah.
graphics and two. So that's probably going to have to be my main number one. If I was picking 2 and 3, I don't know. That's really hard. But I would say probably 2 is Super Mario World. I have a lot of memories with that. My grandparents had that in their basement. They had a Super Nintendo and
nice.
a NES, so I got to play the original Mario Brothers games, and they had Super Mario World and Super Mario Brothers All Stars.
Yeah.
So I played a lot of that too. So Super Mario World, I remember playing that with my brother a lot. So that there's a lot of good memories with there. So as far as the number 3, I'm not sure. That might be a tied with like Super Mario Galaxy 2 was really good. What else? Super Mario Brothers 3, I really like a lot. I actually do like Super Mario Brothers 2 a lot.
I like a lot of it as well. Like, so I actually didn't beat that until a couple years ago. Thank God for save states nowadays. Because like I played it on I think it was on the Switch, because that's on like the Nintendo Classic section, and so like because that was one of the ones I played a lot of my grandparents, because it was also on Nintendo Super Mario All Stars, and I really enjoyed playing that one. And do you have a specific character that you play as in that one,
Probably.
and why is it Peach?
Well, it probably is a toss up between Peach and Luigi, because Luigi has the extra jump height.
Yeah.
So I've always liked playing as Luigi a little bit too. But yeah, Peach.
Well,
Peach
she has the hover is just too good.
And I have gone back and played that game on it is on Nintendo Switch Online, and which is nice because you can reverse play if you mess up. But I did go back and play it on the NES Classic that I have, and I went back and played it on the NES, the regular console. But,
nice.
But that game is pretty hard going back to it. It's very difficult. I remember playing it as a kid. I don't think I was actually able to beat it on the original system.
I definitely wasn't. I think I got as far as it's like one of the first 3 bosses. There's the one that, like, the mouse that like throws bombs at you.
Yeah.
I think I got as far as that one, and then I kept dying, and so like, in that game there's not really a save state, so you just go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So like I only got so far. So with save states I've been in the Switch's kind of reverse function makes it a lot easier to actually make it through the game.
Nintendo did.
That was the first appearance of Birdo, though, I think
it was.
Which I love those fights.
And Mario Brothers 2 was a reskin of another game.
Doki Doki Panic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot. I think lot of those enemy characters designs I think came from that game, and but we're now worked into the main Mario canon ever
Oh yeah.
since. But like, um, what was I going to say about? So Nintendo did this thing. So I had the Game Boy or Game Boy Advance games, and they re-released a lot of the original Mario games.
Oh right, on the
for
Advance in like packs or something, right?
yeah. They called them. What do they call them?
Didn't they just like slap Advance on the back of it?
Well, yeah, Super Mario Brothers Advance
Mm-hmm.
colon Super Mario 2,
Yeah,
Super
yeah,
Mario
yeah.
Brothers 2 or something like that. So they re-release, and that's confusing because the Super Mario Advance games, they're releasing like Super Mario Advance 1, 2, and 3 and 4,
Right.
but the games that they are using are out of order. So they actually started with Super Mario Brothers 2,
Okay.
and then I don't know what they did after that, but in terms of the order, but
Gotcha.
that's the first time I was able to actually beat Super Mario Brothers 2 because they
Oh,
had
nice.
it on Super Mario Brothers Advance, Super Mario Brothers 2. It's a very
Did that one have
confusing
a
time.
save state?
I think so.
Okay.
You could actually, I think, save in that game, and that's the first time I actually was able to
Yeah.
beat it. But
I believe it. Yeah, that game it's got its own special difficulty, but I really like a lot about that game. I like the music in that game a lot as
Yeah.
well. Like there's just it is harder and it's got more unique bosses, but I appreciate that about it.
So, would you say Mario games really kind of helped get you into gaming, or was that a different franchise or something that got you into gaming, or what was Mario's like impact on you as a gamer?
I would definitely say it probably got me into gaming. I mean, I think my first console game would have been Super Mario World because that was the first console I had. I was born in the early '90s, so and that was back. Those consoles were expensive. And my folks didn't have a lot of money, so like the only reason I think we had one is because my grandparents got us one for Christmas, and so and we didn't have like a lot of games either. So we got ones that usually like later on in life we would go to like the vintage stock or something in Topeka and pick out a couple games
That's fun.
that were cheaper. So like Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, Yoshi's Island. Those are probably like the top three that I played most often. But I would definitely say like having a console available and those games, Super Mario World absolutely got me into gaming. And I mean, there was a period of time in my life, like when I was in college, was probably like the lowest point in terms of gaming for me because I didn't really have time, and so I regretted a lot at the time because I wasn't really gaming. I like sold a lot of mine to like GameStop for like nothing because that's how they operate. And like later on, like it was probably after college when I started, or maybe mid college, where I was like, I don't really have a lot of homework right now with my classes. I need something to do. So like I finally started like tracking down these consoles again. But it absolutely got me into gaming. I mean, I would say as far as like modern gaming, the game that probably got me back into it hardcore would be the new God of War, the 2018, because that game is just fantastic. But that's not a Mario game.
It's not a Mario game.
Although I kind of now want to see a version of Kratos with the overalls and the plumber's hat.
That could be DLC. You never know.
Do you think he'll throw a plunger?
Yes. Well, they do have.
Well, there's mods.
They do have boomerangs, which is another good point to bring up. What are some of your top favorite Mario power ups in the games?
Ooh, okay. I love the cape in Super Mario World. The feather that gives you the cape. That was such a killer. I mean, I played some of the other Mario games, like the original Mario for Mario All Stars, but
Yeah,
like that one is definitely great. The Fire Flower is just iconic. It's classic.
classic.
And it's fun to do. I love the Tanuki suit. I mean, that one's also just fun because not only do you have like the invincibility when you turn into like a statue, but just being able the ability to also fly with that is fantastic. I actually like a lot of the other suits from 3, like the frog suit is pretty fun. Man, yeah, I like a lot of those classic power ups. I haven't played a lot of the newer. I think the last, aside from Mario Odyssey, I think the last new one I played before that was New Super Mario Bros. For the Wii, which had like the propeller hat thing.
Yeah,
Which you have one down there.
I do.
I don't remember what else they would have had. What else? I think is that the one that had like a bee? costume, or is that
Oh,
3D World?
that was well. I know Super Mario Galaxy had to be costume.
Oh, okay. So I have done that one. I do like a lot of those animalistic ones.
Yeah.
I will say, if I have to pick a favorite power up in general, so would you consider the Cappy from Odyssey to be a power up?
Well, not in of itself, but you can.
Like
Well,
when you possess other things?
yeah. And then I would those. I don't know. I guess I don't know, but I think in terms of this discussion, I think I would count whatever you possess with Cappy. That could be
A
a
power up.
Power up.
Okay,
I'll
because
just call it.
if that's the case, then I would probably pick Cappy overall, just because I think that's a fascinating style of gameplay. And like in Odyssey, you can like it really kind of broke the mold as far as like really changing up gameplay. I feel like with that function, and it's also one that like, despite the fact that that one is also like technically it's a collectathon. The power moons are so abundant that it's not it doesn't feel like a burden to collect them all to advance. So like I was not sure if I would like Odyssey because of the collectathon nature of it. But that made it so much more fun. And like probably my favorite one is the fact that you can take over a T-Rex.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And so in Mario Odyssey, that's probably my second favorite 3D Mario game,
Yeah.
and and I think Super Mario Galaxy 2 was also very, very fun because it had a lot of platforming and it did have some collecting in it, but it was really the platforming I think really took that was the main highlight of that
Yeah.
game. But in Mario Odyssey, that game was just really fun because it kind of combined the best elements of the 3D platforming, 3D Mario, and there was a lot of 2D elements in that too. There's
Oh yeah,
times
well
where
they
you
even
could,
like there's spots where you actually straight up go into a 2D Mario
yeah,
section.
and those are some of the most fun parts, and you do that within the 3D world, so
Yeah.
they're not like dedicated 2D levels. So I always thought Mario Odyssey was really fun, and with Cappy playing as a T-Rex is just really fun.
Yeah.
You got to play, I think, as you get to possess everything for the most part. The bullet bills, you get to play as or a Goomba, and you can stack them up. And
that's always really fun.
And I thought like that made the game have a lot of the platforming, of course, but it also had like more interesting puzzles, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
To solve, like if you saw a moon that you needed to collect on a ledge or something.
Yeah,
then
figuring out how to get up there.
Yeah, and the level is kind of like a sandbox on how to do it.
Yeah, I would say like kind of like with how Breath of the Wild kind of really broke the mold for Zelda. I would say Odyssey kind of broke the mold as well for Mario a bit. And I mean, we haven't had a new Mario game really since it. I mean, not counting like Bowser's Fury, which I haven't played that yet either. Which I want to at some point. So I might have to see if the library has the combination of those games.
So Super Mario Odyssey came out October 27th, 2017. So that's
okay. So that's the most recent.
We're getting close to 5 years of that being out.
Dang.
So we're almost, I feel like we're kind of getting due for a new Mario game, but
I would imagine they've got to have something in tow. But like, I mean, they've been so deep in developing Breath of the Wild 2. So I'm surprised we didn't. I mean, well, I think the last thing that they released was not All Stars, but is it All Stars for the Switch that had Mario 64, Sunshine, and
it had Super Mario 64, had it had Super Mario Galaxy, and
that's the other one. Okay,
and Super Mario Sunshine. Yeah,
which I never played Sunshine. If there's one era of the Mario games that I never really got a chance to play much of, it's GameCube, because I kind of switched. So, in my gaming history, we went from the Super Nintendo, and then I didn't get a 64 until I was in high school, and by then the GameCube was already out, but we didn't have that either. So, like my cousin did. So I the next console I had was a PlayStation 1, and that was probably already when PlayStation 2 was out, so it was cheaper. So like for you, Super Mario 64 was your first like 3D game experience.
Yeah.
For me, it was Spyro. Like I have such huge nostalgia for those games.
I wonder what it would have been like if you had played Mario 64 first before Spyro.
I mean, I probably would have been a lot more nostalgic. I probably would have liked Mario 64 a lot more if I'd have played it as a kid. and like had that like that huge experience of like this like whoa, this is all in 3D. Like because like I mean like Donkey Kong Country was kind of pseudo 3D in terms of like the look like with the shading and stuff.
Yeah.
So like that one was kind of the next step up, but yeah, I don't know with that.
The GameCube, I think, is a great console, and Super Mario Sunshine is a little bit divisive because
That's what I've heard.
it is more of a difficult Mario game, and it's I didn't really because well, the Super Mario 64 they had 120 stars you can collect, and
Oh,
so
right.
that was like I like the challenge of trying to
So are
like
you more of a completionist?
well, to an extent. Like I
Okay.
thought Super Mario 64 was kind of manageable. Like a lot of those stars are super hard, but I felt like if I just kept trying at it, working at it, getting my muscle memory right, I could probably do it. And I have gotten 120 stars multiple times in
Oh,
that game.
nice.
I've done multiple flavors. Mario Sunshine, I just had to give up on that dream because some of those challenges are so difficult. And it didn't really bother me as far as playing, just beating the game because you can get whatever you need to get to the final,
Right.
the last Bowser matchup. Uh, but the game is very difficult, so that one would be probably a harder one for me to kind of want to revisit. But I do remember playing it the first time. They had some amazing like ocean graphics that they had in there.
Okay.
And around the time my family had just went to the Caribbean for a family vacation or
Oh,
something
nice.
like that. So that game came out that same time where we went to the Caribbean and I got to see the actual ocean. So it
Yeah.
was like playing Mario Sunshine and actually living it for a
Did
little,
you have
little
a
stint.
squirt gun?
I wish I did. That would have been a lot cooler. Um, but Super Mario Sunshine is pretty fun. I mean, I think there's going to be way difficult challenges that you probably just need to just give up. Just don't worry about it.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's on my list of ones to play, especially since it's on that All Stars pack. So once I finish the current game I'm on, I'll be able to play some other games in my backlog, and I don't know, maybe that'll be it. But so before we get close to our break here, I have the top 10 Mario games according to IGN.
Okay, yeah, let's see.
So
they
I'm curious to see if you would have put them the same way. So coming in at number 10 is Super Mario Land or Super Mario 3D Land. Is that one that you've played?
let's see. Do you have that list here?
Yeah, it should be on the thing. It's a red document. It's under free for free
Okay,
talk.
here we go. I'm gonna just bring this up. Okay, top 10 list here according to that. So now, yeah, number 10 was Super Mario 3D Land. Okay.
Yeah, that's not one that I've played, but it was a combination that they re-released it for the Switch because it was originally on the Wii U, right?
Um, I don't think that's on the Switch. That was a 3DS game.
Oh wait, so isn't 3D Land? Oh wait, maybe it's 3D World.
Super Mario 3D Land was on the 3DS.
Oh, is it World the one that was
Yeah.
released with Bowser's? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, so I never had a 3DS either, or a DS for that matter.
Well, you need to get one. Of course, now they closed the eShop. So,
Yeah.
gosh, not that you would have probably bought a lot of stuff on there, but you could have, and you didn't. So that's too bad.
That's my bad.
But Super Mario 3D Land did come on the 3DS. You haven't played it, but I did, and that's a really fun game.
Okay.
I do think it's really fun. It's not a full what I would call like. It's not in the style like Super Mario 64 3D, but it does it does really well by the 3DS's 3D graphics because then in that game you can really use the 3D to judge depth and stuff when you jump from platforms.
Okay.
And the game really does like the camera will move a little bit more not directly overhead Mario, but in a way that like the depth really matters and you have to jump on platforms and stuff. So it's I really liked it. It's not maybe one of my absolute favorites, but it's a pretty fun game. I thought it was a step up from the new Super Mario Brothers games that we were getting out at the time. So
Gotcha.
So I'd say probably a solid list at number 10.
Okay. According to them, number 9 is Super Mario Sunshine, which we just talked about. Would you put that before?
Well, I probably would put it before given how Super Mario Sunshine came on a home console, and it's a bigger game, so there's more game maybe to do. I think maybe 3D Land is a more refined game. I don't know if that's even accurate to say, but I guess I would probably put Super Mario Sunshine ahead of it just a little bit, but it is super difficult. But there's other Mario games to talk about, so
Yeah.
like no, it's really weird with the top 10 game or versus the top 9 game. Is there really much of a difference there? I'm not sure.
Gotcha. So at number 8 is the original Super Mario Brothers, which I mean, it's classic. I mean, you got to love it.
Yeah, it's the one that started it all. That game is I've only beaten it a handful of times without
using the warp zone.
Without we're spoiled now with you having the reverse.
Oh,
you get the reverse and play through the I forget what they call that, but I have beaten it a few times on the original NES.
Oh, nice.
And I have also, I don't know if it was easier or not, but they also re-released that game on the Game Boy Color as
cool.
Super Mario Brothers Deluxe.
Okay.
And I have beaten it on there. Maybe it was easier just to play it on the Game Boy and get it through. But
yeah, I can believe that.
But I don't know. Maybe a little surprising it's so low on the list.
Coming in at number 7 is Super Mario 3D World, which is the one we were talking about a little bit before. With that's been released. I think that's the one that was on the Wii U, and then they've ported it and rebrought it onto the Switch along with a new game they made, which was Bowser's Fury, which kind of uses a lot of the same power-ups, I believe. The cat suit, I think, is the main thing from that game. You said, then we were talking about this the other day. This is one that you have played, but like you weren't super into it.
So Super Mario 3D World, it really does. It's more fun when you play with friends. It's really set up for 4-player co-op to kind of play through. You can play it as a single player game, but I think it's a lot more fun with more people because then there's more chaos on the screen. There's more of that kind of stuff. So I think it's a better game with more people.
Gotcha.
But wasn't necessarily my favorite, so I wouldn't necessarily put it at number 7. I think maybe that would be a good number 10 game even. Or something. But that's me. I know a lot of people do love it, and I do like it with friends. So that has to be said.
Maybe we'll have to do that movie night sometime because I've never played it. So coming in number 6 is Super Mario Galaxy 2.
I'm also looking ahead on the list a little bit. Super Mario Galaxy 2, I thought was fantastic because it took everything with Super Mario Galaxy 1 and they just did more of it.
Yeah.
So I guess they made that game because the development team had just so many ideas still.
I could see that.
And they just, so that game was able to use a lot of the same assets as Super Mario Galaxy. I remember just liking. I liked Mario Galaxy 2, maybe even a little bit more than Galaxy 1, just because of the puzzles and all that were really fun. They did some really fun stuff with Luigi in that game. They had Luigi specific gameplay.
Oh, okay. I know I've played it, but it's been a while, so I don't remember.
So yeah, that's a really good one.
Coming in at number 5. Halfway through the list is Super Mario Galaxy, the first one.
I liked playing that when it first came out. After I liked Sunshine a lot, but I think I didn't know what I was wanting in a 3D Mario game until Galaxy came out. It was just really cool. They have the planets that you
I like traveling between those,
and the way you move around these spheres in space. Your Mario can go and do a full 360 around the planet and
it's kind of like King Kai's planet from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and you can jump from planet to planet. It was just really interesting how the physics of that game.
Well, they had like the little like warp star things that you jump through to propel you forward.
Yeah,
those are pretty fun. Well, you have like all the Lumas and stuff, which is a new like addition to the series.
Yeah. So I like that one a lot, and obviously I think I like Galaxy 2 a little bit more, but Mario Galaxy is just it's the OG of that type of game. So wouldn't mind getting a Galaxy 3, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, coming in at number 4, Super Mario 64.
So
does that hurt you a little bit to see it not higher on the list?
Well, I'm looking at I can see the arguments for it.
I will say, like, with the graphics specifically, the graphics does put it behind because those haven't aged particularly well.
Yeah, in terms of graphics, I'm cool with it, but something about blocky Bowser is really cool with me. I could probably say that Super Mario Odyssey is probably a better game than Mario 64. I mean, it's so much more expansive, and it is really fun. So I wouldn't be too hard on Mario 64 being number 4 because there's some other great games ahead.
Yeah. But I mean, it is the granddaddy of the 3D Mario games, so it deserves respect for that. Coming in at number 3, Super Mario Bros. 3, which I mean that game was a huge deal when it came out, and in fact made its debut in America in the movie The Wizard.
That's right.
Which that's a if you haven't seen it, it's kind of a fun movie.
And I have not, but I've seen the parts where the game gets revealed in the movie.
You've never seen the movie?
I haven't seen it. Nope.
Maybe we'll have to review it on a future episode.
God.
You don't want to explore that? That early 90s nostalgia with the Power Glove?
No.
The Power Glove is so bad. Coming in at number 2, Super Mario Odyssey.
I think that's fair. I think that's it's like Super Mario 64 X. Yeah, Super Mario Odyssey has all the fun things about, I think, 3D platforming that and it you do collect in that game, but there is so much to collect that you can play the game for 5 minutes and maybe find 5 or
enough to progress.
Enough moons to progress, and if you wanted to, you can come back. You can go back and just for the sake of either completing it or the challenge. There has been some parts in the game. I don't know if you call them like speed running is part of video games, and they've kind of made that a challenge part in the game itself.
Yeah.
So there's some like time trials of like Mario has to get across the platforms in a certain time, and some of those are like so challenging. Like I have to only try so many times because then I'm getting so mad. And it's like, okay, this is not for me. I can't do it, but I want to so bad.
Yeah, that's one that I actually did come back to, like after defeating the main part of the game. I did kind of go back to some of those earlier worlds and just try and find more stars. Because you also have the whole like Dark Side of the Moon thing in there where like it's kind of like this secretive and like you have to collect, I think, enough stars to get there as well. So like I enjoyed that aspect of it. But I mean, it's a great game. I highly recommend playing it.
And it's really kind of like a celebration of all that came before too.
It really is.
When you play it, it because even the one of the final things you do in the game, I don't know if it's post Bowser or not, but they do this thing where
the jump up superstar thing.
Yeah.
Well, not only like that song is fantastic, but it's Pauline, who's the earliest quote unquote princess.
Yeah.
From Donkey Kong, as the main character, the mayor of New Donk City, and it really is just a celebration because like I think it does go into like a 2D section where you're going through these platforms like in a construction side and in a construction uniform. It pays a lot of homage, and it does it in a way that feels like it respects the games that came before, and it's just great. It's fantastic. And coming at number 1 is Super Mario World for the SNES.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm in favor of that position. I said earlier, my favorite game is of the Mario games is Super Mario World. I think that game is just everything about it is well done. The music is fantastic. It fits well, and it's stuff like you wouldn't have necessarily thought about in one of those early levels when you first get Yoshi. If you hop onto Yoshi, the sound changes actually.
Right.
So you kind of have these like drums that are happening, but you have all these different style of locations, and I like. The overworld just is fantastic. It's fun to navigate. I think the castles are iconic. It has one of my favorite bosses in the entire Mario series, which is the Reznor.
Oh,
like there's something about that boss. I mean, I can kill it so fast these days. You can pretty much stay in the same position and get all 4 before like the bridge collapses. But like I remember seeing that and I was like, why is there a rhino as a boss? Like it was still confusing and still is. But I love that boss. I think the final battle with Bowser is really fun. With like the Mecha Koopas. I think all the castle designs are fantastic. I really love the forest in particular. Like I love the music there. There's kind of these nice. It kind of feels like strings from what I remember. And like the fact that it kind of looks like a person, almost like a Pinocchio is what my brother and I called it.
Oh yeah.
Has one of my favorite castles actually in that same area. It's the one that has like the giant wooden beams that are sharpened that come down from the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is about that castle, but I just really love it. And like you have like the secret levels. I actually have 100. That's one of the few games as well that I have actually 100%ed.
Wow.
And there's not many. So it's like I found all the dragon coins. I found all the secret areas. I beat all the secret areas, including the super secret Star Road. They had like Tubular and they're like Radical, I think is another name of one of them.
Yeah.
To the point where
Whatever a Ninja Turtle would say.
Oh, absolutely. Cowabunga. Yeah, I that area is just so much fun. And like if you actually beat all those, it changes the overworld and the enemies. Which like the first time I saw that, I'm like, I was so taken aback. So that game is just absolutely brilliant. It deserves that spot number 1, I think.
I liked Super Mario Brothers 3 a lot. I did like that a lot. I think what had always like made me like Super Mario Brothers World a little bit more was the simple fact that you could save the game.
That is also helpful.
And just like leave it. So like it made it feel like you just can I don't know, like kind of live with it a little bit more. Like just experience the whole world.
Yeah.
Without the stress of it, like if you die, you have to start this whole game over again.
Well, there's a hack to that too. Like you can go to that secret area up in that one part of the map where there's the bricks, and you can just keep going back into that and getting infinite 1-ups pretty much until you get to 99 lives.
Yeah.
Which I may or may not have done. Like,
well,
that was like one of the first things we did.
Well, you have to do it because then you get all those power ups,
Oh,
recharge your power ups and stuff again. But I liked that you could save and then just kind of like, in which was helpful because there are those secret paths you can find.
Yeah.
So it's really about finding the secrets, finding all the things in the different levels. So that always made me kind of like that experience of playing Super Mario World more than Super Mario Brothers 3. And I could see that the power ups in Mario Brothers 3 are maybe overall better.
Yeah.
But you have Yoshi and you do have the cape, so those are in the firepower. So that's like the 3 things I need.
Absolutely.
On my little quest here. So
plus, with Yoshi, you get even extra power ups if you swallow certain Koopas.
That's true.
So like,
fire breath, flying.
There's like the power stomp too.
Yeah. But obviously it's on the Super Nintendo, so like a lot of the sprites and the animation for that is just a little bit more colorful, a little bit more animated.
Absolutely.
The final fight with Bowser was like a big event for that game, a little bit more so than the previous ones. Although Mario Brothers 3 was it seemed like a pretty good final boss in the presentation stuff, but the final Bowser with
I can still hear that. I can hear that music in my head right now.
Yeah,
as I'm picturing it.
It just really made it like it was a really good climax to a game. So Super Mario World, I think that's probably a fair number 1. Why not?
Yeah, and it has probably my favorite Mario theme, which is the ending credits one.
A good one, and a lot of the music in that is pretty good.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, that's the IGN top 10 list. I think we should go into our break before we get into our review of Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
All right.
All right, we're back at the Nerds Now Plane, and we're going to be reviewing the Super Mario Brothers movie. So before we get into our review of the movie, let me read off the synopsis that we have for the movie. With the help from Princess Peach, Mario gets ready to square off against the all-powerful Bowser to stop his plans from conquering the world of the Mushroom Kingdom, I would guess. Because do you think Bowser would know about the actual world outside of his world?
I don't think that that he would. It doesn't seem like anybody else does. Like the only reason that the only one that is different is Peach, who is human in this world.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she was in the original one too, but which apparently I was reading. Apparently, this is the it's in my trivia here. I think it's like the first time for like the Japanese side that she's officially referred to as Princess Peach and not Princess Toadstool. So like, because I guess in the lore of it, she's probably from there, like from the Mushroom Kingdom, I guess.
I see.
Although she's the only one that's not a mushroom person.
It's like don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. So this came out this year. Came out like 2 weekends ago. April 5th.
Yes.
Which, by the way, that is the same anniversary of the 1994 Hotel Mario that came out. That's when that game was released.
Oh.
And also, this year, having it come out this year, is the 30th anniversary of the 1993 Mario movie. So there's that.
Okay.
Which,
Everything comes back to the 1993 Mario Brothers movie.
as it should. I have a lot of I mean, no surprise for me. I mean, you know this about me. Like, I like bad movies for fun, if they're fun bad movies. And I think the 1993 Mario movie is a lot of fun. It's definitely not great, and there's a lot of like stuff behind the scenes that like made that movie not good. But I think Bob Hoskins does a fantastic job as Mario. I love him as Mario.
Yeah, and John Leguizamo
Leguizamo. Mm-hmm.
was a good Luigi, from what I kind of
Yeah.
remember. Or at least, well, I mean, I don't know what Luigi should be.
Yeah. Well, I think
really,
Dennis Hopper as Bowser I thought was fun too.
that was an interesting choice. But as far as the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out last week,
Yes,
Tim, what were
yes.
some of your thoughts on that?
So in general, I have a lot. I think overall, I had a lot of fun watching this movie, and I mean, it's very funny. And I like probably my favorite part of the movie. So as to not like give like spoilers enough, which there will be spoilers later on in this, so be ready for that just in case. I think the music and all the Easter eggs are probably my favorite part about this movie, because they took a lot of the Mario music and did more of kind of like a bigger orchestral version of them, which I think lends a lot to them. I really love that aspect of it. I personally, from the moment that we started entering into the movie, it was super nostalgic because like they brought up like a red screen with like the Nintendo logo, and Mario and Luigi were down on the bottom, and like it felt like we were about to play a Mario game on like this huge screen, which was I really enjoyed that. And then it started like the Illumination logo came in with like the Mario Kart
Minion.
well, that I don't care about the minions per se, but like the sound of when you're about to start a race. So I like that. And this movie is so littered with Easter eggs, it's ridiculous. So like my favorite part, probably personally, is just spotting all those Easter eggs. As a long time fan of Mario and the Mario games, like one of like Luigi's ringtone is the GameCube sound as it opens up.
I think I even missed that.
Oh man, I'm surprised you did. It's like I almost turned to you in the theater and went like, oh, "It's the GameCube theme."
There was so much though. Probably happening.
Oh yeah,
I want to use that as an excuse to missing that, but I guess I'll have to rewatch it.
And rewatch you shall. Yeah, so I think overall I like it. Although like if there's one like big downside to this movie, is that it doesn't really have much of a plot. I feel like, and to be fair, this movie definitely feels like it's for kids. Like it's aimed at the younger kids who are. I mean, it's maybe Illumination, which are like family. I mean, it's rated PG, so I think that, and like the pacing of it is very fast, which I think, I hate to be one of those guys that says kids nowadays, but like people and kids nowadays in general have lesser attention spans, and so I think that how quick things happen probably will work well for kids and parents who are taking their kids to. I mean, it's like an hour and a half long, so it's a good length for children. As an adult and a longtime fan of Mario, I wanted more.
Yeah.
But those are in general my thoughts. Before we get into more things, what are yours?
Yeah. So this movie is pretty interesting. It's like a couple like. I don't even know where to begin, I guess. So when the movie does start, you mentioned that it has the red screen, the Nintendo logo comes up. Before I get into the movie itself, though, I really just like that, I guess, because when the Sonic movie came out, I don't know if you saw it in theaters or not, but they had a screen kind of come up. I mean, I actually don't remember exactly how it plays out, but
did it have the Sega logo come up?
It has the Sega logo come up, and
with the sound effect,
and they have like maybe a chorus sing the Sega.
Oh, I do love that.
That was really really fun. Like it just was like, wow, that's cool. Because I like the commercials of Sega. They have the Sega, but they incorporated that at the beginning of the movie before it starts, and it just really cool. And
it adds, for those of us who are fans, it definitely adds to that experience, because like anytime you boot up one of those games, like with Sonic, like I love hearing that chime, and the same goes for like the PS1 or the PS2. Just hearing it start up like it brings such a nostalgic and like enjoyable thing, something to the experience, which I feel like modern consoles just don't really do anymore.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I did like so Nintendo. Nintendo did it was really fun seeing the Nintendo thing come up, and it's just like if we're starting up a game or something.
Yeah.
So I'm a long time Super Mario Brothers fan, and a lot of the Mario Brothers games do not have these elaborate stories. They just don't. And there are the Paper Mario games, and there's some Super Mario RPG, and they do have story elements in that. So story is just not the main focus of the Mario games. It's the platforming and stuff.
That is true.
And that seems to be the case with the movie as well. So, so there's a lot of things I kind of like seeing Mario and all the characters kind of rendered in actual 3D
They look good.
like looked pretty fantastic. Like Mario's clothes, you see all the stitching. I remember when the games were coming out. Like when Smash Brothers Melee came out, it was a like super big deal that you could see the cross stitching in Mario's jeans and stuff when that was like back in 2001 or whenever that game came out. And so it's kind of like that again, but you're seeing like a super high res render of Mario and Luigi and Donkey Kong and Bowser and all that stuff. So it's like we're watching the next gen of Super Mario Brothers, so that was really fun.
I would definitely agree with that.
Really fun to see that, and to see the Mushroom Kingdom realized in this movie world on the big screen like that. So there's a lot of fun things that I was like kind of grinning and like happy to just kind of see the 30 plus years of Mario games kind of realized in this way on the big screen.
I totally agree.
And they it was fun to see all them incorporating things from all the games and characters from like Super Mario 64, even Super Mario World. And they're kind of tying them all visually in and into this big soup. But and there was a lot of things I kind of liked this game. So, but there's not much story here on this movie. This movie was just going at a real brisk pace. So in gaming, there's speed running in games where you try to complete the game is very fast. This movie almost kind of felt like it was a version of that. They were going brisk pace and so it was kind of like a little bit disappointed in that sense because there's the character of Mario wasn't really there's not like much going on with him as a character. I don't think they kind of they have this kind of family dynamic where him and Luigi have started their
new plumbing business,
and they're really trying to make that succeed, but they're kind of seen as like a joke to their community and maybe even their family, and it's like, oh, that's not the fun. So, but from the time they are in the real world into the time that it takes them to get to the Mushroom Kingdom isn't really that fast long at all. They just kind of like
isn't.
They're just kind of like boop there. So the trailer is like pretty much the beginning of the movie with them in the Mushroom Kingdom. They do not waste time getting there, and I think that
they really don't.
So I think there's like some missed opportunities to just kind of flesh out Mario as a character and his relationship with Luigi. That then Charlie Day as Luigi was a really good fun part. Jack Black as Bowser was another highlight. I thought was really really fun. So there's a lot of good things, and I know it did feel like a children's movie in that like maybe children's attention spans weren't going to be very long, but I think like this was probably like to the extreme of that. Like I think think kids can take in a lot more than we give them credit for or not, but so there was some moments in the game or this I said game, but the movie where like the characters were about to get into some deeper level heart, and like the moment they kind of start doing that, the movie like says nope and just moves right along.
I agree. You know, you mentioned Luigi. I agree. Like I thought Charlie Day as Luigi was great. I'm disappointed that he's not in more of the movie.
Yeah.
Like I was really, I mean, it's called the Mario Brothers movie, so like you would hope that both of them would be more of a central focus and not just Mario. I mean, like I know Mario is mostly like the face of the franchise. It's called the Mario games, but I was hoping that he would be more of it, not just be such a. I mean, he's such a side. Like he's barely there. Like he only serves as motivation for Mario to move forward, because he ends up getting taken into like a different pipe dimension, which takes him to Bowser's world, or like a dark world first, and like he gets captured by Bowser, and like that's really the only motivation for Mario is to go find his brother.
Uh-huh.
Like the whole point, thing of like Bowser coming to take over the Mushroom Kingdom isn't really that big a deal.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Well, not to them, I guess.
Mhm.
But the movie does have as much story as maybe the first Mario Brothers game in
Yeah.
some ways.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But the movie is very colorful, and there were some pretty funny bits in it.
Mhm.
I don't know if they necessarily had to do with Mario, but
No, well,
specifically,
one of the opening ones definitely doesn't. Well, should we go into the spoiler reviews?
we should let's do.
Okay.
Let's go.
So to go off that, one of the earliest, and it was like a part that I think both of us found extremely funny. They, as plumbers, they finally get like their first job, and they go to this lady's house, which apparently the voice of the lady in that house is voiced by the same person who voiced Peach in the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know. It was in the trivia I was looking up. So one of the funniest parts about this movie is kind of early on when they go to this posh house to do some plumbing, and the owners have this weird dog, like this insane dog that there's a moment where like Luigi steps on its bone and like it looks at them angrily and like suddenly licks its owner's face. Like it's hilarious, but it has nothing to do with Mario at all.
Yeah, and so I thought that was super funny, and but then I realized it's just a little bit in the movie that
Yeah.
it's not like Mario too
Mhm.
Mario specific, I guess.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get moments that were that funny again. I thought.
Not for a while. I mean, there were other ones. Like probably my favorite moment in the movie or my favorite thing in general is this nihilistic Luma that is
Right.
in the cages in
Yeah.
Bowser's castle. That's like it just wants to die. Like and it's voiced by a child. So like I mean that adds to the humor, I guess, for some reason, because it's this like bright and high pitched voice that's like so sad.
I feel like that's a very American sense of humor or something to be so nihilistic with cuteness.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It definitely is.
But like thinking about this movie is interesting, because I think like the story was so lacking and fast paced that it like there's a lot of like some of the animation that they do in this movie though is really great.
It looks great. Although there was one part where like when after like the training montage thing, which we can talk about in a second, where Peach's head feels like it was way too big on her body. As like they were descending. Like maybe it's just a trick of the way the theater was. For my eye, I don't know if you noticed it, but like it.
Big screen, big head.
That's how
that works.
But it seemed that seems so weird to me. But go ahead and see what you were saying.
Well, I think like so in terms of the animation, I think like Illumination is been getting really good. With their animation. I thought a lot of the animation that we saw with the characters and the landscapes and the effects that were happening in this movie, they're really kind of upping their game, and I was really happy to see that with the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Because I like a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are some 3D animated movies that even from Illumination 2, I think, that don't really move the needle for me in terms of like visually striking or interesting, and I don't know if this is like the top premier visually striking stuff to come out, but there's some really fun sequences of visual sequences that are done in this movie. So there are a lot of good things going from it. But the pacing on this movie is so fast paced. I wish it did kind of slow down, and we got to one of the interesting things part in the beginning though too is we get introduced to Mario's extended family.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting sequence to see their relationship. Which, by the way, the designs for those, especially like Mario's dad, apparently all those were previous designs for potential characters in Mario that just were never used.
Oh, okay.
So that's where they got those from. Which Charles Martinet, who was the original voice of Mario and still is, voiced the dad
Oh, okay.
in there.
I thought it didn't sound like his normal Mario voice.
Well, he does that
but
more for the Giuseppe character in the bar.
he does. Yeah. I thought that kind of did sound like him.
Yeah,
I've seen
it's him.
I've seen interviews of him without him doing his wahoos.
Oh yeah,
but it did sound like, well, that's a cool little tie-in. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot of Mario love in this movie.
there really is.
It just, I wish some of that Mario love happened with the
plot.
with the plot a little bit.
Well, I know. So you and I were talking after seeing the movie, and you said there were like 3 big things with the plot that were not, or at least one of them is with the plot. So like the big one, I think you said.
Well, let me just go and list
Go
them. So there's like 3. And if I can think of more as I'm rambling here, I'll mention them. So like Mario, when they're in the real world, they want to do something super for their company, I guess, because they had a bad experience at that one house. So they go. There's a was it a
It's like the street was flooding or something.
The street was flooding in Brooklyn, so they wanted to go save Brooklyn. And by doing so, they go into the sewers, in which they stumble upon that big green pipe.
Yeah.
That is there for some reason, which was just there. I don't think they like broke down a wall. And
No, they did.
They did.
They busted through a wall.
Okay, and then it was real. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
But still, like the fact that it's just. I mean, it's a Mario movie, so like I don't know what logic you could have.
That helps, though. So thanks for helping because I was misremembering that a little bit.
Yeah.
But so I guess that helps it a little bit. But they just see the pipe and then they immediately get transported to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which we don't know what happens with Brooklyn, right?
Oh, yeah, we totally leave Brooklyn.
Did they even solve that problem for Brooklyn?
Well, I don't think so because the thing that they were trying to fix was like a pressure valve or whatever it was that was like on the fritz, and they tried to fix it, and then like the handle flew, or like the thing flew off. So the city must have fixed it on their own.
I guess, or they're just all drowning while they're in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Is that they did open the manhole cover, which did seem to like alleviate some of that flooding as it was just going into the sewer line. So I guess they kind of fixed it or helped.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not really dogging on this plot hole here, but the speed, because the time that we spent with them up until that point wasn't very much.
No, it wasn't.
And then they just kind of go there, and then they're immediately transported in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah.
And Mario, they are separated when that happens, but Mario immediately meets Toad, and it's basically Mario's like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and Toad's like, well, gee willikers, you just need to see the princess, dude.
Yeah,
and
the fact that it's just easy access to the princess is insane.
Yeah, she's the leader. It's weird that she's just a princess. Does she have to be married to be a queen? But
it's a good question. Well, there's also like no other royalty that I'm aware of.
But yeah, that's also the thing. She's just a princess. But yeah, the level of security and access to the princess of their world is very very loose, I guess.
Yeah.
For just some traveler, some traveling Toad to be like, oh yeah, just got to go see the princess, aka the wizard.
Which I did appreciate. One of the jokes that they brought in, and it's definitely a nod to the earlier games. There are 2 Toad guards in front of the castle the castle that basically said like, no man, our princess is in another castle. You should go there and find her.
Yeah,
that was a great fun nod.
There are some fun nods. I wish there was like kind of more of that somehow.
Yeah.
But that was a really funny little. It was kind of like Shrek, like almost.
It was a bit, yeah. Which I will say, like as far as the Toad, I think Keegan-Michael Key did a pretty decent job. I mean, it's not like the super high pitched Toad voice, which is classic in the games, but I don't think I would want to hear that through an entire movie.
It didn't really bother me. It sounded like how Toad talking in a game would probably annoy you too. I would imagine.
Well, because he has that like high screechy things, which like Keegan-Michael Key didn't really do. So like I was fine and kind of appreciated that.
Okay.
But so there was that. Just the meeting up with Toad, and just Toad just being like, "Oh yeah, you just got to go over here. Let's just go." And then when they do get to the castle, Peach has got her own. She's dealing with Bowser in her own way. Mario doesn't. I don't know if he knows much about Bowser. Well, Toad already just told him about Bowser too. He's like, "Oh yeah, well he's the bad guy. He's the baddest of them all." He's just It's like, okay, we already
He
got
just accepts it.
it. Yeah, it's like, okay, just hey, I'm Toad. Let me just give you the lowdown.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the things. Here's the guy you need to worry about. Here's the person with the solution.
Uh-huh.
This is go to the solution.
Yeah.
But it was also interesting because Peach is trying to deal with Bowser. She's rallying up her troops or whatever, and they're going to go do this. And Mario infiltrates the castle and then just literally runs into her
Oh yeah.
and basically says, "Hey, I need to find my brother. And you're going to help me." And she's like, "Okay, all right."
Yeah, pretty much. Well, like she pushes them through this training montage, which I will say, like the design of the montage, I appreciate because it definitely harkens back to those older like 2D side scrolling levels. But the fact that you can't get through it without using a power up seems
That's just newbie level.
well also true. I don't know. It is a choice, but like yeah, the pace at which it happens, and then like they immediately go to the Donkey Kong world, which is interestingly the only well, it's not the only other tie-in to another like Nintendo game because they were playing like there's a Star Fox thing in there. There's Punch Out. There's
Oh,
there's
I saw the Punch Out, but I did not see Star Fox.
it was
something.
on in Mario's room. On his TV, there's the X-wing or not? Is it
Okay.
X-wing? R-wing.
It would be
Whatever
an
Fox's ship is.
R wing. Let's say R wing because X wing is
That's
Star Wars, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure it's the R-wing.
Yeah, live long and prosper.
Hate you so much right now. Well, and they also like Mario straight up playing an NES.
Yes. Oh,
Which he
yeah.
was playing Kid Icarus.
Like I don't want to like deviate too much, but that's like
Right.
is Mario playing? Are there Mario games in Mario?
That's a good
in the
question.
Mar-
Like,
in the
what
real
is the
world?
reality of this universe?
What's happening here?
maybe at that time it's just Jumpman that they have, like the Donkey Kong games.
There's some like multiverse something happening. Some meta within the meta.
Oh yeah, there definitely is.
It's all just a what do you call it? One of those
Simulation.
simulation.
It's
Yes.
the Matrix. But yeah, so like as far as like the plot goes, so they immediately go to Kong World, where they have
Which they had no trouble just getting there.
no, absolutely not. Like
They just
they
go there.
just skip directly to that. Like there's no like journey along the way.
They might as well have just done the flute and get there.
Oh, the warp whistle.
Well, yeah, why didn't they just do that? That would have helped me a little bit.
That would have made more sense. Like that should have been a
missed
power up that they found.
opportunity.
Or they should have like found it in like environments. Yeah, that would have made a lot more sense. So they get in there, and I have to say, like, so I like a lot of the voice acting. I think Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was actually pretty good. I mean, I had my doubts about the voice acting in general, about this cast, but I think he did a decent job. I'm a bit disappointed. I love Fred Armisen, but I did not care for him as Cranky Kong. I don't know if it's just the accent that he did or what, but I don't know. Like,
Wasn't cranky enough, huh?
it was not. Well, like I guess it depends on like whatever voice I had in my head as a kid playing Donkey Kong Country. Like it wasn't that, and so
Well, and Seth Rogen's voice probably wasn't what I would have imagined either. But
that's fair.
then again, I'm less. I think it was fine. Seth Rogen was fine. I mean, I
His
think
voice
that
at least felt like it fit better.
I think it fit the design of Donkey Kong in this
Yes.
movie, which I'm not a total fan of. They kind of went with
They
more
redesigned it,
maybe the classic Donkey Kong look.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, but I'm really familiar with the design from the Donkey Kong Country
Yeah.
games, so that I wasn't too hot on Donkey Kong's design in the movie.
Mhm.
But I think Seth Rogen's voice fits this design.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I would say. Cranky Kong maybe wasn't cranky as I remember, but he actually goes with the flow with a lot of stuff.
He really does.
And is he like the emperor or something?
it
of this
seems like
Kong
he
land?
is instead of like just DK's dad.
In the Donkey Kong Country games, I don't know if he would have wanted to be the leader of anything. He was just
He didn't seem like he
he
wanted.
just wanted to be on his rocking chair.
Pretty much just left alone, pretty much. Yeah, so it is kind of weird that they had that, and it's also odd to me that they are the ones who have the Mario Kart, like all the karts.
That was interesting. Just as interesting as and they drove a cart to get to
Yeah,
Cranky
they
Kong,
did.
which it is access to the world leaders in this world.
It's stupidly
is,
easy.
is very easy. So if you had any diplomatic things you wanted to
Mhm.
address or renegotiate some trade deals, you can just do that.
It feels like you know the I don't know if you watch him there's a guy on YouTube I don't remember his channel name, but one of his drop lines his catchphrases every episode is super easy, barely an inconvenience. Like that's what it feels like in this movie.
Yeah, that's everything's just moving right along.
Yeah.
And then they did have the Mario Kart, and it's kind of like just like we have to get somewhere. Let's just use the Mario Karts. There's the Mario Karts, man.
Yeah, we just use those. It's
And
fine.
so-
And like they even like pick their own design, which is interesting. Like I can sympathize with the writers in trying to find a way to work all this stuff in, because as you said before, like the games don't really have a lot of plot. So trying to find a plot and work in all these references would be difficult. But I think I mean, if they can do it with like the Super Mario, like the Super Smash Bros, like starting with like Melee and Brawl, like they had a storyline behind things.
I think like if they took more of like a Shrek approach, in which Shrek is living in a world of all the other
Video game characters.
or of the fairy tale type of characters, but
Yeah.
apply that to Mario, where like what I'm trying to, I guess I'm saying, like Shrek has its own story, and then surrounding it is the fairy tale characters and the worlds that they kind of like collide and get along the way. So that would have probably like been kind of a good formula for this movie, because but the carts just kind of like Kongs just kind of make them, and but that's not that's like a little disconjointed to me, or
it just kind of feels like they just shoved it in there.
So I feel like there's just not a lot of meat on the story in that way. So I think on multiple viewings, it's just going to be like there's not a whole lot of substance with some of that stuff. I think they could have incorporated the carts in just a little more detailed way, but it was just kind of like, oh, well, we got the carts, we got the Mario Karts, we got the Super Mario Karts, we got the Mario Kart 64s, we got the
Rainbow Bridge,
we got the Rainbow Bridge, we got it all. We just got it.
I will say, like, so as far as like the plot goes, like, so the main motivation for Bowser, it's always kind of the same for Bowser in the games, but like, he's in love with Peach, and like the whole wedding thing, and it's like he wants to try and marry Peach at any cost, basically.
Which I guess I didn't know that was what's going to be happening in the movie from the trailers. But,
I didn't either. But the trailers do not portray that part of it.
But that's an interesting motivational choice for Bowser to force marry Peach
that's
in a kids movie, I guess.
Stolen out of like Galaxy and Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
So like I feel like the trailers don't show that aspect of it. So it feels like I kind of wish they didn't. That they wouldn't have done that and made him. I don't know, maybe they were trying to make us sympathize with him, but I don't think it was necessary. It was a choice. I feel like they could have made a better choice. Now, granted, given that, I think Jack Black does a great job as Bowser. I think he was an excellent choice. Although I do feel like, so there's a moment in this movie, actually a couple ones, where Jack Black as Bowser is singing this like power rock ballad called Peaches, about Peaches. It apparently was improvised, more or less. It just feels so out of place for me. Like, I love Jack Black, but that didn't need to be there.
Oh, man. But just interesting motivations. But they do have a pretty fun, epic battle in the real world.
Which apparently none of the citizens of Brooklyn are fazed by. In fact, there's a giant dragon turtle there.
Well, it is Brooklyn. It's New York.
Nothing phases them.
New Yorkers have seen everything. So
that's fair.
Why not? Just another Tuesday in the Brooklyn. That's my Brooklyn voice, which was probably terrible. I'll never do it again.
I don't know. So I guess going off of accents, how did you feel about Chris Pratt as Mario?
So I it's fine. Just kind of like the movie itself. Maybe they didn't like go all the way on a lot of things, and his voice was another one. In the beginning they have the Mario Brothers plumbing commercial,
which I really loved. I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah, and they did the accents and the voices for that.
I really wish they would have kept those throughout the entire movie.
So I thought it was like, in some ways I thought it was like clever, and in other ways it's like, why didn't you just do that through the movie.
Yeah.
I guess it would have been fine. I would have been okay with that, but I don't know, maybe they just didn't want to do these little accents throughout the whole thing, and maybe I don't know.
I don't know. But maybe it would have gotten old very fast, but
That's
I
probably
kind
true.
of wish that they would have done it anyway.
I could see a case for it if they didn't do the accents, so they could better emote the like emotional
That's
things,
fair.
but
That's fair.
they didn't really have strong emotional circumstances
There
in
really
this movie.
isn't.
So then I don't see what the point was, because you can't really do like heartbroken, sad Mario with "Wahoo, I'm a very sad."
It's true.
So you kind
Where's
of
my
have
brother?
need to have like a natural
Human voice.
whatever your natural accent voice is anyway to
That's
communicate
fair. That
that,
makes
I
more
think.
sense.
But then they didn't really do that. They almost kind of tried to do that in the movie, but the movie just never allows that to fully happen.
yeah, there's not really any emotional stakes with this movie either, because like Bowser basically threatens to destroy the Mushroom Kingdom if Peach doesn't marry him. And so, I mean, that's really like the climax, more or less. Like when she finally does, and they all start trying to go against him. But like, there's like you don't really like. There's never like a threat of loss. Not really. Like if maybe like Luigi Luigi almost died like in the lava at one point, but like there was never any doubt that he would have survived.
Uh-huh.
So like I don't know. I wish maybe he'd like tried to step in earlier in that fight and almost get like injured by Bowser, which would have like driven Mario harder to fight back. Like that would have given it more more emotion, more, just actual stakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. There's so much more they could have done with this, and they didn't. I will say one of the most. Well, I don't want to nag on this too much, but the needle drops in this film.
Oh yeah. So there's some interesting musical choices that I don't think were necessary.
They absolutely
and they kind
were
of kind of were distracting a little bit too.
Well, because like when they're entering the Kong jungle, they used Aha's "Take on Me" for no reason.
Oh yeah, I was like, I know, I like the song, I guess, but why is it
just seems
playing
like they're
right
doing
now?
it to get something popular to like sell the album.
Yeah, and they did have like AC/DC,
Uh-huh.
and like there's so much music, great music from the Mario Brothers games.
And like they had this
And
great like orchestral score of those in the background in a lot of this movie. Why not just do more of that?
yeah, even if it was original non-Mario stuff,
Oh yeah.
but because in the beginning too with the Penguins, and I don't remember the name of the song, but they've used it in the Kill Bill.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So whatever that
Yeah,
Kill
I
Bill
know which one
song
you're talking
is, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it was like a little bit cheap. It cheapened it right away.
Well, because they're trying to make this. They were trying to make the moment feel like badass,
Yeah,
and I mean, they already ruined that from the trailers, because you see like this big thing, and they're trying to do it, but like they're throwing snowballs, like they can't do anything.
I felt like, yeah, the snowball. I like, and then they have those are the penguins from Super Mario 64 too, and like I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more into that world of the
Yeah.
penguins, just a little bit, but
Mhm.
everything's going at 2 times speed here on this movie.
It really
so,
is.
But yeah, some of those needle drops on the movie, interesting, and it would have been probably good if it was kept to like 1.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I kind of wish they also would have like shown maybe, there's a brief moment, I guess, when they're on their way to the Kong jungle, where like they show snippets of these other locations, like the pyramid area,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, I kind of wish they would have stopped to like do something in each one of those. That would have felt better pacing wise.
Yeah.
But it would have given more to the story. Like they could have had to like, I don't know, find something there that would help them get there.
And we had just watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yes, we
and
did.
there's elements of that kind of thing that you just said in that movie that's done super well, and just kind of it still flows, and everything matters, and every character has like something
They have to do and, like
overcome or what
Yeah.
emotionally, or just with their skills or something, and so that would have been a good. So we just need those Dungeons and Dragons people to make all the things now.
Maybe they should bring those on to like a sequel, which I guess we should talk about that as well. So it seems like they're teasing a sequel with the after credit scene, which was kind of anticlimactic, because they just teased Yoshi, which we see Yoshi's before in the movie. So like it's not it doesn't feel necessary.
Yeah,
Like
that did diminish that a little bit, didn't
it
it?
really did. Like all you see at the end is you don't even see him, you just hear the sound and the egg cracking. So like, what's the point? So I guess we should talk about start getting into our closing thoughts here.
Yep.
Let's get into our rankings. So we have avoid, meh, solid, great, and superb. Devin, what would you rank this film?
Oh, I have to go first, huh?
I'm gonna make you do it.
Well, okay. Can I give 2 reviews? No, I can't. I'm gonna give it a solid.
Okay.
Like it's got a lot of fun for someone who loves Mario games. There's a lot to enjoy in it, so I would say it's solid for that experience. Because I would say the story is meh.
Yeah.
The story is meh. It's a hard meh. Everything else though is pretty solid for 3D animated movies, I think. But it's it's almost between meh and solid. But I'll say solid is my ranking on this.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think if you're looking for a fun time with your kids in general, or just like as a Mario fan, I think it's a solid experience. Like it is fun to watch. I was sitting through a lot of it with a big smile on my face. I mean, a lot of that is nostalgia based because I was, seeing all these Easter eggs. The orchestral score is fantastic. The character designs look great. But as far as plot, I agree. It's very meh. They could have done more. So I would agree. It's kind of somewhere on the spectrum between meh and solid for me as well. So I would say, I mean, watch it at some point. Like you don't need to see it in theaters if you don't want to.
Well, definitely a good one with the kids.
Yes, I mean if you want, it will definitely entertain kids. I think like that's something that you could also like plop down in front of them, and it'd still be fun to see like on subsequent watch throughs. I think, but like, I mean, and I'm not a parent, so I don't have that experience. But I think for kids, it'll be worth watching.
I am excited to see maybe if with a sequel where that could go. They hinted at Yoshi if they did some kind of a Super Mario World specific adaptation and like Dinosaur Land.
That would be interesting.
Or something like that. Could be interesting. So I hope they just really take maybe whatever feedback if they do on the story front and really kind of beef that up. And I think a sequel would be really fun and really strong. Because I think like how Mario gets into the Mushroom Kingdom is not as interesting. I think maybe to me, but now that he's in there, now we can just build off of that. I think.
Well, it seems like at the end, like they leave him, like he's put up shop in the Mushroom Kingdom. Like he doesn't really go back to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I guess at that point, like why would you?
Yeah, his family doesn't like him either.
Doesn't really
anyway,
seem like it. So before we close out, I have a question for you, Devin. Do you know how to do the Mario?
All I know is that I know how to flail my arms from side to side.
You to swing your arms from side to side. Come on and let's do the Mario. So if you don't know what that's from, it's from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, which I never watched a lot of, but that is very iconic. Sometimes
at Walmart in the $5 bin, you can pick it up on DVD.
I think I'll probably settle to try and find it on YouTube if I can.
There you
go. So yeah, that's our review of the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out this year. We will be back next week with another movie. Until then, we'll see you then.